This is not related to any potential future RFPs or other funding opportunities. We cannot answer any questions about any potential future RFPs or funding opportunities. Our response to all such questions is to monitor the NJSTART website for future bidding opportunities. If you're not aware, NJSTART is New Jersey's vendor procurement system. If you're not already registered on NJSTART and are interested in future funding opportunities, I suggest you register. We're going to get started with the presentation now. So this presentation is regarding a grant opportunity through the Resilient NJ program. The Resilient NJ program is funded by a HUD award through the National Disaster Resilience Competition. The program is a flood resiliency planning program. It will fund the development of 4 regional resilience plans, as well as develop additional tools and resources to support resiliency planning in the Resilient NJ region and throughout New Jersey. That is the opportunity we are here to discuss today. The Resilient NJ program has a particular focus on engagement of socially vulnerable populations, and communities are a particular focus of the program. So up on the screen, the next 2 slides are the primary objectives of the program. I don't want to read these verbatim to you. They are identified on the program website in the application document, but just to go through them quickly, we'll be looking to identify gaps and resiliency planning. We will be seeking to identify or reach underserved populations, ensure their representation, and that we address their issues and concerns. We'll be looking to develop innovative yet implementable solutions to flood resilience in the short and long term. We'll be looking to implement or advance prioritized actions to reduce flood risk, enhance the value and integrity of the ecological, recreational, and economic resources of the region, and ensure wide collaboration. Those of you who have seen a presentation on the Resilient NJ program before know that there are 3 primary funding opportunities in the Resilient NJ program. The regional team selection funding opportunity is complete. The regional teams have been selected and are identified in the application document as well as on the Resilient NJ program website. The funding opportunity that we're discussing today is the program support grant opportunity, which is highlighted in orange on the current slide. So what is this funding opportunity? Eligible entities must be recognized as nonprofit entities. We recognize already that there is some question about whether nonprofit entities who are not specifically recognized under Section 501c3 but are still nonprofit entities are questioning whether they are or are not eligible. We are looking into that and what type of information might be necessary to demonstrate that those organizations are, in fact, nonprofits. If you have suggestions on how we might be able to do that, we are happy to consider them, although we'll not be specifically addressing them in this Q&A session today. Eligible projects for funding include research, guidance, tools, training, communication material and campaigns, and other activities that support resiliency planning in the 9 Resilient NJ counties as well as throughout New Jersey. The projects and activities are not specifically tied to the 4 regional planning projects that will also occur throughout the Resilient NJ program. The 5 eligible categories for projects identified in the application document are engagement of socially vulnerable populations, ecological enhancement or restoration, risk communication, adaptation and mitigation financing, and innovative resiliency planning program support. That last category is for any projects that do not clearly fall within any of the previous four, and perhaps recognizes our lack of creativity in being able to best identify all of the potential categories. The total available funding for the grant opportunity is $250,000. The minimum award will be $20,000 and the maximum award $100,000. Based on those funding amounts, we expect that we'll issue up to 8 awards. There's no guarantee that a proposal will be chosen in every of the 5 categories. This is the general or the overall project timeline for the Resilient NJ program. And we're providing this so that you understand the program in general and how your projects may fit in. So back in the summer of 2018, the department issued the regional teams funding opportunity. Sorry, the awardees were announced back in October. This funding opportunity was announced approximately a month ago, and I will identify further details on the schedule for this funding opportunity later in the presentation. The 4 regional planning projects going on throughout the state are broken down into 2 phases. So beginning in early 2020 is the phase 1, the planning phase for those projects. We expect that planning phase to go approximately 18 months. The second phase associated with those projects is planning implementation, and again, we expect that to go approximately an additional 12 months. All activities related to the Resilient NJ funding program must be complete in May of 2022. All federal funding, Sandy-related federal funding, must be spent, completed by September of 2022. So we are providing a little bit of a buffer to make sure that all of the work and reporting is done. Go ahead. The Resilient NJ award from HUD, the competition was limited to the 9 most impacted and distressed counties as identified by HUD from Superstorm Sandy. While no specific location for projects in response to this funding opportunity is necessary, it must at least be able to inform the 4 regional planning projects and resiliency planning in the 9 Sandy MID counties. Again, all projects must at least be applicable to the 9 Sandy MID counties. Next. The type of spending that the funding can be used for includes personnel, salaries and fringe benefits, other direct costs such as supplies, printing, public notice, publications, travel, indirect costs. In this funding opportunity, you have to use your federally negotiated cost agreement. If you do not have a federally negotiated agreement, you can use a de minimis rate of 10% for your indirect costs. Note that equipment is not an eligible cost for this funding program. Projects must also comply with HUD's direction for planning-only activities. The Resilient NJ grant award from HUD is for planning-only activities. Go ahead. The application requirements, again, are included in the application document, and I'm not going to read them off to you here, but every Everything identified in the application document is a requirement for the application. Next. The meat of your application is going to be the proposal narrative, which needs to include a project description, a timeline of your project, and then the qualifications of those working on the project, and a demonstration of the personnel in your organization's demonstration of experience and capacity. Go ahead. I went too far, but the application criteria on which your applications will be scored will be out of a maximum score of 100 points. The 40 points will go to the relative relevance of the project proposal. So does it meet the objectives of the Resilient NJ program? Does it support or enhance resiliency planning in New Jersey? 30 points will be for the feasibility of your project proposal. Can the project be completed in time and within budget? And the final 30 points for demonstration of capacity. So do you have the ability to get the job done? The application, the submittal requirements are that we want 1 electronic and 3 hard copies. The application must be postmarked or emailed by noon on May 1st. And you will send it to Carmen at the address identified on this slide and in the application document. You can send the electronic version to the email resilientnj@dep.nj.gov. The next, that is today. There is not an additional Q&A session after today's webinar. However, you can submit additional questions through the Resilient NJ email address. All questions must be received by noon on April 1st. We will develop and post an FAQ document that addresses all questions that we received through the in-person Q&A session earlier this week, this session, and those that we received through the email. So this, again, this is the email address for you to submit your questions, and at this point, we will start opening up to questions posted online.
And so just to address some questions that came up. So we will start with the typed questions. Nick will go through and answer those. And then I know that some of you did not have access to anything other than the audio. So once we go through the typed questions, we will open up the audio for additional questions.
Okay, so the first one, will we be addressing questions about the consultant team proposals, or this is just in reference to the nonprofit university proposals? Right, this is the questions and answers, and the conversation here today is strictly about the funding opportunity that is currently posted, which is for nonprofits, colleges, universities. The next question will be, yes, we will share a copy of the presentation on the website. No, I got it. Next question, are members of the current multi-municipal regional teams that were awarded grants by DEP eligible to apply for the Resilient NJ program support funding opportunity? Entities that are receiving funds to participate in the program through another grant or contract are not excluded from this funding opportunity, provided that the work being proposed does not represent a duplication of benefits or a conflict of interest, and that they meet the eligibility requirements of this grant opportunity. I'll also note if you have a follow-up question, or if I don't adequately answer your question, please go back and type in additional information, and we'll come back to it. Can grant funds be used to support creation and installation of a set of semi-permanent monitoring tools to be installed in floodplains? purpose of these tools would be to assist crowdsource data gathering, adding in research, studies, and analysis on the path to preparation of plans. So funding for the Resilient NJ program cannot be used for the purchase of equipment. Construction is also not an eligible use of funds. Data gathering activities are a permitted activity as part of the program. Is there a page limit on the application? No page limit was included in the application document, and as such, one is not required. However, please be kind to us. Next question. Is there a length limit for the proposal narrative? Similarly, there is not a length limit for the proposal narrative. The next question, when will we be making an award decision by? So we recognize that this was not included in the application document. That was an oversight on our part.
It was included in the grants and loans page, though.
The application document will be updated and posted online again. However, the answer is August 30th. Can applications focus on more than one focus area, or should these be separate applications per focus area? I assume that that means the 5 categories. There's no guidance from us on specifically how you do that. So you can include multiple potential projects for different categories in one application.
We do have guidance stating that if you are submitting for multiple separate projects, that is permitted. You can submit for multiple projects as part of this program, and those should be in separate applications. If you have one project that fits into multiple categories, I don't think it really matters which category you choose for that project.
Thank you, Michael. Are colleges and universities allowed to apply? Many of us are not 501c3. Right, as I noted at the beginning, we've recognized that this has been a question repeatedly provided to us. We are seeking to provide additional information on that question. Again, if you have recommendations on how to do that and the type of information that might be used to demonstrate the nonprofit status of your organization, we're happy to review that, and please send that to the Resilient NJ email address. Next question. Is it possible to consult with the teams from the 4 municipal regions in the process of developing our proposal? Seems we could produce a much more worthwhile proposal if we could talk to them about what we could offer and or what they would most highly value before submitting a proposal. So I want to make clear that your projects, projects that you're going to be applying for grants for are not required to be specifically connected to those 4 regional planning projects. Similarly, you may submit grant projects that are associated with those regional planning projects. You will, however, if those projects are awarded, will not be included as part of that formal project. Your projects may and need to inform resiliency planning within the 9 MID counties, and may also inform resiliency planning statewide. As to whether or not you can contact those regional teams, the department is not putting any limitation on who you discuss your application with in its development. Next question. Will the consulting teams be involved in reviewing the proposals and determining which proposals look most useful to them? No. Next question, can you repeat when the FAQs will be posted and where they will be posted? We don't have a hard date for when the FAQ will be posted. We will get it up as quickly as possible after the April 1st deadline to be able to inform your applications, which are due on May 1st. They will be posted on the Resilient NJ website. Next question, can you speak to the duplication of benefits certification and what that entails? Bear with me 1 second, please. The duplication of benefit certification document is an attachment to the grant application document. It, I believe, is also available as a separate document on the website. So what the document requires is that you identify the project amount and source for all federal or state financial assistance for disaster recovery or resiliency planning projects. The intent of this is to ensure that we are not using federal funds or state funds to fund a project that you've already been funded to produce. Any additional guidance on that? Okay. Next question. Can universities be a subcontractor to a 501c3 nonprofit? Yes, they may. Additionally, 501c3 organizations that are applying for grants may choose to employ private contractors to perform tasks needed to complete their projects. However, no more than 49% of the funds awarded as part of this grant may be passed through to subrecipients. Next question, to prepare a schedule for the project, when can a contract be expected and when should we plan for project work to begin if awarded? So the state will seek to get all awardees under a subrecipient agreement as quickly as possible. However, I can't provide a specific date. There will be, after awarding of the grants, a process to develop the detailed scope of work and get the subrecipient agreements executed.
We can say for sure that it's after August 30th.
Right. If you didn't hear that, we can say for sure that that will be after August 30th. There was a second part of that. When should you plan for project work to begin if awarded? So we did not identify that specifically because your project and how it falls into the overall program timeline may vary. So if your project, for example, is something that applies to the beginning of the regional teamwork in early 2020, and you need for your project to be a success, it needs to happen at the very beginning of that effort or before that effort, then your project start date would need to begin earlier. If, however, your project is something that, evaluates an effort, then that might be more appropriate to happen later in the overall timeline. So we've left that open. I'll note again, all funding associated with this grant program must be complete by May or during May 2022. The next question, are the 4 regional planning projects winning scopes or additional information about them available? There is no additional information at this available. We are still working with those regional teams to get them under subrecipient agreement. Can we explain again the 5 categories captured in one proposal versus different projects captured in different proposals? So the answer was, if you propose to us a project that potentially falls into more than one category, that's fine. However, separate project proposals should be submitted as separate applications. Next question, if consultant services are part of a data collection or monitoring effort, would this fall under personnel costs and be eligible for funding? Hold on, please. I'm going to read that question again. If consultant services are part of data collection or monitoring efforts, would this fall under personnel costs and be eligible for funding? I think
This has to do with how they procured the subcontractor.
so. There's
For NGOs?
let us. We want to get back to you on this. We need to check on a small issue. We will follow up in writing. The next question, what is the difference and who comprises the memberships of the regional teams versus the consultant teams? The regional team grant opportunity was available to municipal, county, and local government entities, as well as community-based organizations. The consultant teams will be selected through a separate procurement process, which we can't speak to at this time. The August 30th date is when a determination will be made. The August 30th date is the date, at least the latest date by which we will announce the awardees for this funding opportunity. Next question, can field monitoring be funded if it will inform planning? I understand the equipment purchase will not be funded through this program. So the answer that we provide again is that data gathering activities are a permitted activity as part of the program. Next question, if 8 projects are funded, the average award would be $30,000, which seems very low. How likely is it that as many as 8 will be funded? Might it be as low as 2 or 3 awards? That will depend completely on the number of applications submitted and the quality and applicability of those projects. Next question. When you say duplication of benefits certification, how far back in time do you need us to go back? And is this applicable for the PIS on the grant or the entire organization?
Primary investigator, probably.
I'm assuming PIS is primary investigator. If you can clarify that for us, though. The duplication of benefit applies specifically to Sandy recovery funds.
So it starts from the time of Hurricane Sandy.
So back to the date of Superstorm Sandy. And yes, principal investigator, thank you. Is it for? It's for the organization as a whole. Again, the intent is to ensure that we're not funding a project or activity that your organization has already been funded to develop. Next question. Clarify, I said complete by September 2022, and then I said May of 22. The grant opportunity says May 2022. All federal funds, the congressional deadline for the Sandy funding is that they have to be complete by September 2022. However, which is our responsibility, the state's responsibility. However, the funding provided through the Resilient NJ program, we are putting a deadline in May of 2022 to ensure that all work is complete, that all reporting is complete, and all administrative tasks are complete by September 2022. So again, to clarify, funding that you receive through this program must be complete, the project's complete, money spent at a date in May of 2022. So those are all of the questions we have in writing. We are going to unmute everyone to allow people who only have audio access to ask questions. If you still are on the webinar and have access, please continue to type in your questions, and we will continue to come back to those. So for those of you who only have audio access, so first, if you're not going to specifically ask a question, please mute your phone. But for those of you who only have audio access, is there anyone with a specific question?
I have a question.
Please go ahead, give us your name.
No, you really want my name?
Yes, please.
Okay, Jean Herb. With regard to the duplication of funding certification, I have two questions. Are you asking only for funds that were federal funds, post-Sandy federal funds, or private funds as well, like philanthropic funds? And then my second question is, are you asking only for funds that are currently active, or are you also asking for funds that have been closed?
So whoever's music playing in the background, please kindly mute your phone. Jean, the answer to your second question is, even if the funding or the project is closed, yes, we still need to know. That. I want to confirm and get back to you on the question about private funding sources, and we'll check that internally and get a response in writing.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Who only access that has questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Please provide your name and organization.
Frank Bain, Waterways, New Jersey.
Frank, hold on 1 second, please. Everyone, can you please mute your phones if you're not currently asking a question? It's very hard to hear. All right, Frank, go ahead.
Yes, if we have a project that's underway, could we use the funds to supplement a part of that project, such as the monitoring aspect of a larger project?
Frank, yeah, we're gonna get back to you on that one also. We're writing down your question. If you have the opportunity to provide the question to that email address in writing to ensure that we fully understand it and heard you correctly, please do. But we want to get back to you on that one.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Any other audio-only questions? All right,
I have a question.
We're going to mute everyone again. All right, some of the other questions back in writing. Can I speak to group proposals? Can partner contributions be paid out of the salary category? So this is similar to the previous question. We think we know the answer, but we want to go back and confirm specifically how that would be incorporated into your budget. Yeah, so I don't want to provide you a response at this time, and we will provide a response in writing. The next question online, can you define construction in the context of this grant? Is creation of communication pieces, sculptures, considered construction? You guys are asking hard questions. So I don't have a specific answer to the sculpture example. However, the guidance that we have from HUD is that these funds, the Resilient NJ funds, cannot be used for construction of projects, was the general focus of that conversation and that guidance, nor can it be used for the development of, engineering design, construction design, architectural design, documents specifically to inform construction. However, conceptual projects, conceptual design, conceptual plans were something that could be funded through this opportunity. So, on the specific example of sculptures, or assume other types of art pieces, we will get you additional guidance in writing. All right, so we're going to open it up to audio-only questions again. Again, please, if you're not asking a question at the time, please mute your phones. All right, anyone with an audio-only question?
Yes, this is Jim Powers from Stevens Institute of Technology. I have a question. If you could just clarify the earlier point about whether it was the PI or the entire organization that may have received funding for disaster recovery or resiliency planning.
So again, this is for the entire organization, not just the PI.
Right.
We recognize for larger organizations that is potentially a long list. This is a federal requirement. Are there any other audio-only questions?
I have two questions. Hello?
All right, so we have another online question. Can a project supplement an additional new component of an existing funded project? So again, that was similar to another question that we are going to have to do additional research and get back to you. I'll ask again if folks still have access to the website, to the webinar, to please provide your questions in writing. It allows us to track and more clearly understand the question, particularly with the difficulty with hearing. So we are going to unmute it again to open it to only audio-only questions.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
This is Jean Herb. With regard to the answer that you just gave regarding the whole institution needs to complete the duplication of financial costs, would you accept an electronically generated document that represents the entire organization that might be submitted multiple times by different principal investigators from the same institution?
Whoa.
Jean, you broke up a little bit, so I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to ask you to re-ask that.
For large institutions that may have multiple principal investigators coming in with individual projects, will you accept an institution-generated list of all Sandy-related funding that each individual investigator submits?
As long as they list everything, and then every one of those principal investigators signs off.
So, Jean, I think the answer is that we are comfortable with that. Conceptually, we'd like to provide specific guidance in writing as to how we'd like to see that work.
Okay, because more what I'm thinking is it would be funder, the funding, the nature of the purpose of the funding, and the principal investigator, all that information in one place.
Yeah, I understand. I just want to make sure that we provide guidance so everybody understands exactly how we might do that. So I'll ask again, anyone with these audio-only questions, it will help us make sure we understand the question and are answering it correctly if you're able to provide it in writing at a later time. We have another online question. Can funding be used to support creation of citizen science monitoring devices by that community? That is, funding would be used for purchase of supplies for community members to create their own monitoring equipment and tools. So we will provide the question I want to go back and check on is how HUD defines supplies versus equipment. Make sure I understand this question, my example is if you go out and buy PVC piping and then cut it and use it to, create a monitoring square. I apologize for not knowing the correct term there. Does that count as equipment or supplies? In my other federal funding world, that is a supplies question, but we do want to make sure that we're providing you the correct information, so we'll check specifically on HUD guidance and provide that answer in writing. Similarly, the next question, is there a dollar threshold for supply versus equipment? And again, that is a question, a guidance that we will look into specific to HUD and provide that answer in writing. All right, we're going to unmute everyone again if there are any additional audio-only questions.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Jean.
Is there any advantage to an applicant to come in with leverage or in-kind resources to put to the project?
Leveraged or in-kind resources are not a specific criteria on which we will use to score the project applications.
Thank you.
Any other audio questions? No other audio questions. You still have the opportunity to add questions on the chat function of the webinar. Somebody's at a party, it sounds like. All right, we're going to mute everyone again for the time being. We will come back, though, if you think of additional questions. We do not have any additional questions on the chat at this time, but we will stay here for a little while longer, and we will check in. We will check in on the audio-only questions in another minute or two. So, online question, still trying to understand, quote-unquote, construction. Is construction in this context specific to construction to resilience tools, devices? That is construction as infrastructure. So, when we had this conversation with our HUD representatives, the conversation was the assumption in that conversation was that construction would be, shovels in the ground, construction of rain gardens or construction of a flood mitigation project, and that type of construction is clearly not fundable through this grant, through the federal funding. What I want to go back and get guidance from them on is whether, quote-unquote, construction of, communication, can we build bulletin boards? Can we build art installations? We want to go back and get more specific guidance from them before we provide you that response. So we got a question again. Yes, the PowerPoint will be posted online. Another question. The May 2022 date for spending includes all three funding opportunities, the regional teams, this program support opportunity, and consultant teams. Yes, all funding through the Resilient NJ program, regardless of the funding opportunity through that program, must be spent, complete by, it will be the end of May 2022. All right, we're going to unmute everyone in case there are additional audio-only questions. Go ahead and ask if there are. We have another online question. When we do respond to these questions that we haven't provided direct responses to today, will we send out an email to help you know when to check back on the website, or should we just keep checking? When we provide responses in writing, there will be a listserv announcement, which, again, if you haven't already, is another reason to please sign up for the listserv, which is available on the Resilient NJ website. So, again, when we will post questions and answers online, and there will be a listserv announcement when that is posted. All right, we're going to open it up for audio again. Either the party has ended or everybody has logged off the call. We will keep it open for a little while longer, we've muted everyone again. We will be here for a little while. If you think of additional questions. We will unmute again at 11 o'clock in about 3 minutes and see if anybody's still around. Oh, the party's back. We're unmuted for anybody with audio questions. Go ahead and ask. All right, hearing no audio questions and not seeing any additional questions coming in online through the webinar, we're going to end the webinar for today. Again, if you have any additional questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to send us an email at resilientnj@dep.nj.gov. We will seek to respond to every one of your questions in writing and post it online. When we do post questions and answers online, there will be a listserv notification that the document has been posted. Again, all questions need to be submitted through that website by noon on April 1st of this year. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day and a good weekend.